Happy Monday to everybody, and welcome into the Auburn Blitz podcast here on a cooler Monday for everybody here in the Southeast. As old man Winter said, "No, hold my beer for a second. I'm coming back for a little bit. I'm returning." So we got that taste of spring and a little bit of summer feel, Faith, and then all of a sudden, old man Winter blows back in to remind us that winter's not over yet. So how are you this morning?
Cold. It's freezing out, but it's a good Monday.
Great Monday. It's an outstanding Monday. I think we have a basketball game that we want to talk about a little bit here on the show. And before we dive into that, and a lot more, it's a big weekend for Auburn. Baseball, softball, man, our softball program is off to just a rip-roaring start. Under the Malveaux era. So we'll talk about them a little bit. But basketball reigns supreme here right now, and that's what we'll dive into. Our program brought to you by Sensagreen for air that's cool and clean. Call them Sensagreen. Carrier experts here in the state of Alabama, also proud supporters of Auburn athletics, and glad that they're supporters of the Auburn Blitz podcast here every single morning during the week. Scout Program Management, actually a full construction management firm that handles pre-construction all the way to the finished product in Birmingham, Alabama. Can't say enough great things about Scout Program Management. They specialize in educational projects, renovations, new school builds. So if you're looking for a management firm to handle your project, Scout Program Management is where to go. And, of course, Bunkers, the favorite. Me and Faith love going to Bunkers. It's outstanding. The food's outstanding. Heard it was packed in there Saturday for the game, so that's great. We're glad that you heard the call right here on the Auburn Blitz podcast to get out to Bunkers and go watch the game. And love hearing that. Packed house, everybody in there, and they had a great game to celebrate, Faith. Again, go to Bunkers for great food, a great atmosphere. I'm telling you right now, what a great game Saturday. Auburn traveling to Tuscaloosa, knocking off arch rival Alabama in a 1-2 matchup, the first ever matchup of 1-2 teams in the history of the SEC. And Auburn started the game great and weathered 2 or 3 storms during that game. Alabama never led in the game. It's the first time in Nate Oates' career at Alabama that a team that he coached in Tuscaloosa did not have a lead in a game at home. So, and I know we're going to break this down all types of different ways, Faith. I know you got your points that you want to bring in, but, man, just overall, what an unbelievable performance by Auburn, putting 94 points up and knocking off Alabama in their building.
No doubt. That was Brett and I were going back and forth during the game. There were definitely a lot of emotions throughout the whole game. Some chills, some angry.
We knew it was going to be that way.
Steam coming out the ears moment. But, yeah, a few things, though, to start off with is it was great to see how disciplined a lot of the guys were and how Bruce Pearl really took charge of just, you saw the behind the scenes before we walked out on the court, of Bruce talking to them, and then also throughout the game. And I just think Bruce Pearl is the best basketball coach ever. Like, he's so awesome. So I just wanted to start out with that.
Well, we're fortunate. Again, we talk about it all the time, and but you're right. We say this all the time in sports. Your team kind of takes on the persona of your head coach, and it doesn't matter if it's baseball, football, basketball, and how they handle situations. Kind of how they train their players to handle the situations. And we're going to break. I'm going to break this game down all the way through from start to finish. And we're going to have comments coming in. We've already got a bunch of comments coming in, and we're going to get to those as well. But, I'm going to start by saying, and I'm going to kind of bounce around here, Faith, so kind of keep me on the rails, okay? This train's going to go all over the place this morning. Denver Jones is where I want to start. since Stephen Pearl talked to him after that Florida game, that guy's different. And it's the Denver Jones that we saw early in the season. It's the Denver Jones that we know has been there the whole time. But Denver Jones is an unselfish player. Okay, Denver Jones is a guy that wants to distribute the ball. He wants to make his teammates better, but he also makes his team better when he scores. And I think Stephen Pearl woke him up and said, look, man, you have got to score the basketball. We have got to have production from you if we're going to go far in this tournament coming up, and if we want to finish this regular season strong. And he's answered so far, Faith. I mean, he had 16 points. The majority of that came in the second half, but, he answered the call. And, when you look at our guards, and we said Auburn's going to have 30-ish points from guards in this game because we thought the score line would end up around 85. The first team to 85 would win. Well, guess what? Both teams made it to 85. It took 90-something to win the game. But if you look at our guards, Denver was 16, Miles with 15, and Tahad with 13. They blew the 30-point thing out of the water. All three of these guys answered the call, and all three of them hit clutch shots at different points in the game. But Denver Jones not only scored, Faith, I want to pull up and look at what he did defensively. He held Alabama's best scorers to 4 of 17 shooting and 2 of 11 from outside and forced 2 turnovers. We know that his defense is where his bread is buttered, but his offense gets overshadowed because of the defense. But when you get a complete player effort out of Denver Jones where he's scoring 15 to 18 points and he's playing defense at that level, I don't know that you can find a better guard anywhere in the country that can do both that well.
No doubt. And if you look at Alabama and who scored the most points over there, you've obviously got Mark Sears, who he scored 18, but nobody else scored 15 points on the Alabama team. The highest was other than Mark Sears is 12, and by Grant Nelson, but
and he had a bad game.
I mean, you see how much our defense impacted their playing. That is, I mean, their points went all over the board for them, but it's insane how well our defense impacted their shooting because they were unable to get some shots off.
Well, look, here we all need this. We figured if Auburn would go back, I think Auburn kind of hit a lull here against Florida and Vanderbilt, and Coach Pearl challenged them. And if you heard the mic'd up part of the Alabama game, he got in the huddle one time. He said, "Where'd our defensive intensity go? Where's our effort gone?" When Alabama came back and kind of had that run, he said, "Where did our effort go on defense?" And then they stepped it back up a notch. But we thought if Auburn played 40 minutes of defense like they're capable of playing, it'd be the best that Alabama's been defended all year, and it would be interesting to see how they handled that. How did they react? And I'll tell you what they did. They were 5 for 26 from outside because Auburn had a hand in the face almost on every shot. And look, if 2 of those threes that Mark Sears hit were from the logo, and if somebody hits that, you just got to tip your hat. You can't run your defense 8 to 10 feet off the 3-point line and extend that far out. If somebody wants to start shooting, if that's where they feel like they're going to need to shoot to score, then you give them those shots. But you defend that perimeter out to about 2 or 3 feet. And if anybody's shooting beyond that, you just got to tip your hat. So out of the 5 made threes for Alabama, 2 of them were those Hail Mary type threes for Mark Sears. But nobody got it going from outside. And that's where Alabama makes hay, is shooting 3-pointers.
Chris Youngblood was going to be a big problem.
Chris Youngblood, yes.
He shot 1 for 3 at at the 3-point mark. And again, he only scored 8 points. He didn't even get to 10 points. And we've seen how much of a dog he can be at Alabama or with Alabama. So
right. There's so many storylines we're going to get to, and again, I'm trying to stay on track. We're definitely going to talk about Aiden Holloway and Todd Pettiford. Let's get to some of these comments. Gonna be taking your comments, and just be patient with us because we want to kind of go through all of this, and we know we got a lot to talk about here on this Monday. Also, a big recruit commitment yesterday that we'll talk about. Huge, massive for basketball. So we're going to get to all this, guys. So just bear with us, please. Yes, Justin, more down. We'll talk about that foul call on Dylan, which I thought was horrendous. Again, look, I thought there were some crappy calls in the game. I thought for the most part, I was concerned about Mark Sears getting every call every time he got downhill. But I'll tip my hat, and I'm not a Pat Adams fan, and I don't know many people that are, but I'll tip my hat that the referees let Auburn play defense for the most part, especially coming down the stretch when Alabama was trying desperately to get to the free throw line. And they got to the free throw line a bunch more than we did early, but it kind of evened out. But I thought that Dylan fouled out, and I thought two of those calls were horrible. The one where he had a hand in the back, he didn't shove the guy. It was, kind of jockeying for position. That's a no call in a game like that. And then the foul where he jumped up. I mean, he literally jumped straight up in the air. And if the referees want to say, well, he left his feet, I don't care if he left his feet. He didn't touch him. He went straight up and down in his space. And the definition of a foul, for everybody that don't know what a definition of a foul is where one player gains an advantage over another unfairly. And that there was no advantage gained there by Dylan jumping straight up and down in the air. And they called that foul. So he had two nitpicky fouls called on him that ended up costing him and getting him fouled out of the game. And then you look at Chad Baker-Mazar, and I thought Chad Baker is handling himself well because he is a target. Again, Youngblood kind of baited him into that. He shoved him out of bounds, and he kind of swung back and garnered that, what they called a flagrant foul. But then the altercation under the goal with whoever that lady is, and I think we all know who she is now because she's all over social media. That's what you do when you act a fool. You put yourself out there and screamed and yelling at a player in a game, but trying to get him baited in there and trying to get him to get sucked into making a bad decision there. And I thought he handled himself well in that environment. And she's the one that ended up looking stupid. And she's the one that's all over Twitter and social media with her mouth wide open screaming. And it's been, gone viral. So, just be mindful of that when you sit courtside. You want those great seats and you do something stupid, you're going to be plastered all over social media.
Do you not expect, though, when you are watching a basketball game, and unless you're in a stadium or an arena like Vanderbilt, where everyone is so pushed away, but in an arena like this, do you not expect at some point for there to be any sort of contact or anything like that when you're that close? That was when we were texting about that was one of the most heated. I was so upset when that happened because she was acting like it was he went into her and he pushed her and stuff like that, when you can literally see, and Chad just posted this morning.
Right.
And you can see them literally pushing.
You just get up out of the seat and push somebody out of the way. He's trying to get his balance because all the people behind the goal there, the press, the photographers and all, it's a dangerous situation anyway. If you've ever been down on the floor, and when I worked press row for Auburn, and photographers are lined all the way behind the goals. And when players have their momentum carrying them out of bounds, they go into those cameras and they fall. I mean, it's a dangerous deal. And a lot of times people try to catch them. And,
Right.
I think the press was trying to catch him. And then all of a sudden you get a row of people that stand up and decide they want to shove somebody and scream at them and scream expletives at them. And, I don't know. I mean, it just was it was a bad scene, but I thought Chad Baker handled it really well. And Janai Broome got him, said, get away from this. Don't get involved in something in the crowd where you draw a technical foul and try to give them any type of momentum. If you saw that during that game, and again, I hope we act better at Neville Arena, but at one point in time, Nate Oates had to get on the PA and tell everybody to quit throwing crap on the floor, and that it was going to cost them some points, and it would have, but somebody threw a beer or something on the floor or water and exploded right there in front of the Auburn bench, and they had to stop things and clean all that up. I mean, it's just, look, we knew it was going to be heated, and all of that was an opportunity for Auburn to lose its cool. And in the middle of all that, Faith, Auburn but Alabama fiercely came back and tied that game, and the ceiling blew off Coleman Coliseum there with about 6.5, 7 minutes to go. And I felt like, man, here it is. Here's the run. We've been able to withstand this pretty much the whole game, but tip your hat, Alabama has fought back. But then Chad Baker-Mazara just comes down and calmly hits another three-pointer and gives us a 3-point lead. And it was every single time Alabama had a run or a push, Auburn answered. And I thought that was so clutch. And that, to me, told me more about this team than anything about how they're going to move on and play in tough environments, even in the tournament, neutral sites or whatever. When you can get in an environment where you're we won't see an environment like that again outside of Neville Arena, where there's that much tension and animosity and hostility and 1 versus 2 and everything that you want to mix into that scenario, and Auburn to go in there and really never lose its cool and win and put 94 points on the board, man, it's just so impressive. It's an impressive win.
No doubt. And yes, I think him going down, and when he blocked that shot and it went right into that front row, I think that Chad was saying, hey, I don't have to talk back to you for you to know that this one's for you. This one,
right.
This block that's going straight to you. That
I thought it was going to hit her in the face. I mean, when he blocked it, I thought, man, did that hit her in the face? But anyway, I think when you look at it from a standpoint of, I think you said it right out of the gate. Our guys, they were dialed in mentally, and they weren't going to let anything external get them out of their focus of what they needed to do, and that was to go in there and handle business and win that basketball game.
The first thing you see after Dylan Cardwell fouls out is him sitting there with his hands wide open, praying to the Lord. That is the first thing that you see. That is, to me, as a girl, but that is the most quality thing in somebody. And the fact that he not only is so open about that, but his first thing to do after fouling out in a game like this is just, I mean, I know him. I'm sure he was giving thanks to the Lord that he was even able to participate in this game. And when Chad Baker-Mazara, when he fouled out, he's still sitting there hyping up his teammates. And it wasn't like a shift of negativity when they fouled out. You know what I mean? It easily could have been, I'm so mad that this happened. The game's going to be over. We've lost 2 of our best players, whatever. That's not what happened. That was almost the opposite of the shift of emotion that happened, I think.
Yeah, again, I think you can look at all types of different things in that game and how it was handled. You look at I want to shift over to another guy that only got 9 minutes in this game, Chris Moore. How big were his 9 minutes? How clutch? I mean, if you saw the locker room after the game and Steven talk about him being plus 17 in his 9 minutes, he didn't make a shot. He was 0 for 3. But his hustle and his rebound and his defensive effort and what he was able to come in and bring and get those clutch minutes when Auburn needed them. Because if you look at it, Faith, we had 4 guys get over 30 minutes in this game, which is uncharacteristic of an Auburn team. Broome had 33 minutes. Chaney Johnson, we ain't even got to Chaney yet. We ain't talked about him yet. Chaney, 33 minutes. Miles Kelly, 32 minutes. Denver, 31 minutes. And this is not uncommon as you start getting toward March. You're starting to see your best players get more minutes, and the team understands that. And as you move forward, you're going to see more of this. And I think in some games where Auburn's able to get a bigger lead, and I hope that's several games coming up. I hope that's Arkansas at home on Wednesday and maybe Georgia Saturday. I mean, take them one at a time, but maybe you don't quite see them get that many minutes. But when you're at Texas A&M, when you're at Kentucky, when you got Alabama coming in those last 3 games, I think you're going to have to see those guys get 30, 31, 32 minutes. I mean, you see Chad Baker-Mazar, 24 minutes. Todd Pettiford, 23 minutes. You're going to see more of a 7-man, 8-man game as far as the players that get a majority of the minutes. So let's go down the list on this on some of these comments here, and we'll keep this thing rolling. A lot still to talk about here. Jeff wants to jump over, say something about softball real quick, and we are going to talk about softball. They're off to an 11-0 start, by the way. He said, been screaming for a hitting coach in softball for years. Amazing what could happen when they finally got some help. Man, they're knocking the cover off the ball. They're also figuring out ways to win 2-1 games as well. So they're winning pitching duels, and they're also winning games 14-11. So I love to see that early in the season. Justin said, what are y'all's thoughts on the F Auburn chants and the guy shoving CBM in the back and the lady blessing him out? Yeah, we just kind of went through that scenario. Luke said that the same thing will happen in Neville towards Alabama. Look, that's a little presumptive. And I think, yeah, I think you could assume that it will happen. I hope it doesn't. I know how intense it is in this game. And I know that Aiden Holloway coming back to Auburn is going to add fuel to the fire, which, by the way, you know, if you look at the performance there, Aiden, he missed a couple of layups. He missed some threes. He had 10 points. You could tell it was a little bit of a pressurized situation because he's been playing better than that. Tahad had 13 points, but we'll go through Tahad here in just a minute because he had his key moments in the second half, I thought, that really, really propelled Auburn to win this game. But, I mean, I hope not. I hope we don't throw things on the floor. I hope we don't shove guys when they run out of bounds. We'll see what happens.
I want this to be a game when they come in to show that we are the quality team compared to them and their fan base. Twitter is Twitter is filled with talking about how obviously the lady blessing him out and everything, but just their fan base and how throwing things on the floor and saying these kind of things. And Auburn fans would never do anything like that. I am hoping that when they come into Neville Arena that we prove them right. And we are not that kind of team that participates.
Well, you better believe anything that's said, any student, because our student section is right on the floor. There's going to be phones out. Everybody's going to be filming stuff, and they can't wait to tweet something out and say, see, y'all do it worse. I mean, look, you just know what's coming. And there's going to be somebody, unfortunately, because we both have them. Some idiot's going to do something, and whether it's shouting expletives or shooting a bird or saying something I don't know, but you can almost anticipate it. But you hope they can kind of rein things in, use that energy, make it loud as make it the loudest Neville's ever been, which I don't think you're going to have to worry about that. And just kind of handle business. And again, don't let the emotions outside of the game affect the game. And again, I think that's what Auburn did so well. It was them against the world mentality in Coleman Coliseum, and it worked. And it's because of Bruce Pearl. It's because they stressed to them that 40 minutes, stay dialed in. Don't let what happened last year happen. Don't let a play or somebody doing something, because it's going to happen, but control your emotions and stay the course. But again, you want to go into Todd Pettiford for a second. We'll keep running down some of these comments. But if you look at Todd Pettiford and what he did in this game, I told you this 2 weeks ago, Faith, and you asked me who I wanted to take the shot when the game's on the line. And you said, take Janai Broome out. Who would you want shooting the basketball or the ball in their hands? And it's crazy to say that you want a true freshman handling the basketball, but that's who I want. I mean, let's break down the time stamp on his second half. He makes a fast break he has a fast break three to take the lead with 7:31. This is that stretch where Alabama's making that little push. Then at 4:54, he has a clutch layup, and at 4:43, he had the and one, which, by the way, was the crap call. That was all of a sudden the Chad Baker-Mazar instance where he gets a flagrant. And by the way, I want to stop there. This is what I wanted to try to keep my train of thought here. I'm bouncing all over the place. We're stopping the game too damn much. All of these stops and play and referees going to the monitor, and it's for both teams. Look.
Why are we going to the monitor?
Just quit going to the damn monitor so much. Right. I'm just tired of it. It breaks the flow of the game. Everybody hates it. It doesn't matter who you're pulling for, what team that you're pulling for. Just quit going to the monitor so dang much.
Make it like the NBA. Have one challenge, and what if it's a successful challenge, you get another one, but if it's not, it's
right. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with a challenge. But every time somebody scratches somebody on the back, they got to go check and see if it was a flagrant or if there was ill will.
Why are we going and looking at something that happened 2 minutes ago and that you can't even do anything about it?
They've got to fix this. So I had to get that point. But that at the 4:43 mark, not only did we lose an and one, we go to the other end of the floor and they have two shots. Okay? And they get the basketball. So we lose. So Todd's basket counted, thank goodness. But his and one opportunity got wiped out because of and Youngblood shoved him into the crowd. Now again, Chad kind of had that little swipe back at his head, and that's what they went and reviewed, and they decided it was a flagrant one, and he ended up fouling out on that play. And so again, there's two guys fouled out at that point. Janai Broome re-aggravates his ankle, and you got all this stuff going on
for a second, and then he's got to go back out. Yeah.
So you got all this going on with 4 minutes to go in the game, and it's close. And Auburn's able to overcome all that. And then at 1:51, Todd Pettiford just calmly goes to the line and hits two free throws. And again, ice water in his veins, big shots when the game's on the line. There's not a moment that's too big for him. And it's just impressive. Hey, I will say one thing that I just about wanted to pull my hair out at the end of the game. Quit throwing the ball into Janai Broome. He missed 4 free throws, Faith. Get the ball to Miles Kelly or Denver Jones I know their defense kind of predicated how you throw the ball in, but you have got to do a better job because they came back and cut it to 5. And it's like, if you keep throwing it into Janai, whose ankle's clearly killing him, and he's not the best free throw shooter on the team, you're going to give them a couple of shots to come down and try to win the dang game when you had the game in control with 1 minute and 15 minutes, 20 seconds to go. So I think Auburn dodged that bullet. I think Coach Pearl lost his mind on that second inbounds pass that sent Janai Broome to the free throw line for 2 more missed free throws. And I'm not picking at Janai for missing the free throws. It's the play. He should not have been in that situation. So Coach Pearl was screaming at the bench and saying, what are we doing right here? Let's get the ball. And then they finally got it in Miles Kelly's hands, and he went to the line, knocked down 2 shots, and they finished the game. But I mean, you that's part of this learning process too. Even in this great win, you got plenty of things that you have to look at to work on. So they'll look at that, obviously, and they have the day off today, and a well-deserving day off before Arkansas comes in on Wednesday. So let's look at some more of these comments. Job's not finished. Patrick said, by no means. We said this last week, Faith. We said it Friday. Whoever wins this game or loses it, this has nothing to do with your season being over. This is just another regular season game. Now, it had a lot riding on it from a number 1 versus number 2, the hype, the national attention, all that kind of stuff. But we've all flipped the page now. And now you got to look at Arkansas, because if you come back home and you lay an egg to Arkansas, then what you did on the road at Alabama kind of gets canceled out. So you got to focus. You got to turn the page, regardless of a win or a loss. I'm glad we're getting to turn the page with a win, but we got to stay focused, and you can't look at it and say, well, Arkansas and Georgia coming in, they're not as good, and we don't have to give that same kind of effort. That's the kind of stuff that'll get you beat. So I'm hoping that's what we'll carry in to Wednesday. So the job definitely is not finished. Yep. That's what we just talked about, Justin. Chad blocked, thought that one was blocked into the lady on the front row. Yep, should have been offsetting. I agree. If anything, it should have been offsetting, because the shove, he got nothing. Wasn't that a foul? I mean, the last time I checked, shoving somebody into the front row is a foul. But they go back, and I know they can't review that because they didn't blow the whistle. But again, the referees missing that call led to Chad Baker-Mazara kind of swatting at Youngblood as he's falling out of bounds. So it's officiating when you go back and look at it. Just said, I think Bruce really got on to Steven about that. Yeah, I mean, you gotta be better at the end of the game trying to finish. Michael said the game on ESPN after hours was ESPN News for the entire first half. Game was way too long. It was 3 hours. And it's because you stop every 2 seconds to go to the monitor to look and see if somebody broke a fingernail and to see if there was something egregious that went on. So, I mean, take Auburn and Alabama out of it. It makes the game unwatchable. I mean, it kills the momentum of the game for either team.
Every game, though. Like, it's not like it was
exactly
in ours. It's every single game.
So, again, I think we all can agree, even Alabama fans that are probably tuning in right now, nobody wants to go to a game and let it drag out for 3 hours and watch the officials go to the monitor and tell everybody and give this long, lengthy explanation for why they went to the monitor and didn't make a decision. Okay, there was one time they said, well, we reviewed a play that was past the time frame, but we're going to tell you anyway what the ruling was. I was like, that's just stupid. That doesn't even make any sense. You just told everybody that it was past the time frame to review a play, but you ruled on it anyway. And so, again, it was kind of like they wanted to be in the spotlight maybe more than the team. So I'm just glad that coming down the stretch, the nitpicky fouls, you knew it was going to be a physical game. They didn't call every single little tic-tac foul coming down the stretch because, look, Alabama wanted to shoot threes, and that's what they do well, but then they had to embrace what Auburn was giving them, and that was trying to get them to drive to the basket. And if you want to look at the number of free throws, Auburn was 22 of 32. Alabama was 26 of 35. So it was very even on the calls. So 35 attempts for Alabama, 32 for Auburn. So it was very even as far as that's concerned. Look, I thought Auburn's game plan to get Mark Sears to get away from his left hand was clutch. He was going to his left hand early, but then they shut that down and it made him get out of his comfort zone. And I thought Auburn, there was one stretch early in the game where Alabama got three offensive rebounds and 4 shots and ended up making a 3. And I think that was the one Aiden Holloway made. And I'm like, here we go. You and I talked about it Friday, Faith. We said, you cannot give Alabama 3, 4, 5 shots at it on one offensive possessions. They're going to kill you. And I thought early, I'm thinking, if this is how this is going to go, not going to be pretty for us. But don't think we saw that again the rest of the game. I thought Auburn did a pretty good job of limiting second and third opportunities on the offensive side for Alabama.
Absolutely. When we were talking about that, it was a moment of, oh boy, this is not going to be a fun game to watch. But that was short-lived for sure. And I thought during that game, that was some of the best, or maybe not the best, but the most clutch rebounding that we have had. And
it's huge. It was huge.
And we had 40 rebounds and Alabama had 49 the whole game. But
right.
I think that was the most clutch rebounding that we've had all season. I think
that they did double us up on offensive boards, but again, 3 of those came in one possession. And so you take it down. I mean, again, outside of that one possession, I thought Auburn did a really good job. John said, what were the foul numbers again? The foul numbers were, do you have those in front of you, Faith? I moved to another screen. I've got them if you don't have them. 26 of 35. 26 of 35 for Alabama, 22 of 32 for Auburn. So pretty even. 32 trips to the line for Auburn, 35 trips to the line for Alabama. So, pretty even there. 3-point shooting, Auburn 12 of 30, Alabama 5 of 26 from behind the arc. So, Justin, I saw that too. Trent Seaborn, the quarterback for Thompson, sitting beside Roll Tide Willie. I'm sure that was a interesting seat to be in during that game. I don't know that that's convincing anybody to go play for Alabama. Yes, sir, John. That's it. That's the numbers right there. Perfect time to talk about some of our great partners here on the Auburn Blitz podcast. Sure Shot in Alexander City. Faith, turkey season right around the corner. Firearms, apparel, hunting, everything you need for outdoor experience, handguns, rifles, shotguns, whatever it is that you're looking for. Call 256-329-0080. Call Scott. I buy all my guns there, all my apparel. Everything comes from Sure Shot. And we've had a lot of people comment on here already, Faith, that people come up to Alexander City or from Auburn, and that's what we want you to do. Come check out Sure Shot in Alex City. You will not be disappointed. They've got everything that you're looking for, all you outdoor ladies and outdoor men that want to go hunting. And if you're looking for apparel, they've got a full array of that there at Sure Shot. And Oliver Ross, a full-service bartending group that comes out to your party, that you can book them, whether you're having a party for 5,500 or a big event that has 20,000, like Buckmasters in Montgomery. Oliver Ross, licensed and insured bartenders, quality service, handle a lot of parties in Auburn for frats and sororities. They do a lot of things like Buckmasters in Montgomery. I've been handling that for several years now. So if you're looking at hosting a party at your house or anywhere, call on Oliver Ross. if you're looking for bartending service. They come out and handle the whole deal for you. So it kind of takes the pressure off of you at that point. You don't have to worry about it. They will handle it for you. So we appreciate Oliver Ross being part of the Auburn Blitz. And, of course, Sense of Green and Scout Program Management and Bunkers also for being part of our podcast here. All right, so wrapping up our talk here, Faith, on Auburn and Alabama. If you look at it from a standpoint of, we talked about Todd Pettiford, we talked about Denver Jones, and we didn't really say much about Miles Kelly. Very clutch, 15 points in the game. Thought he did an outstanding job. Again, Miles Kelly hit an early three and then kind of went cold, and then was able to fight back and hit some really good shots coming down the stretch. But we didn't talk about Chaney Johnson, and I hate that it's taken us 41 minutes to get to Chaney Johnson, because Chaney Johnson right now, when it seems like Auburn needs to weather a storm, it's Chaney Johnson. And we say this every time we're on the podcast, but, I mean, this guy has improved so much, and he never says anything. He is not an emotional guy. He's a physical guy, but he has the same facial expression. It doesn't matter. You would have thought we lost by 30 if you look at Chaney Johnson's face, but that's how cool and calm he is in any situation. He just goes out and does what is asked of him and nothing more. I mean, it's not about the spotlight for him. He just wants to go out and play hard and perform. But I did think it was key that you look at him. He was able to stay in the basketball game. He had 3 personal fouls, but we were all concerned. I think Patrick came on here last week and said he was concerned that Chaney may foul out of the basketball game. I think we were all concerned that Janai and Dylan and Chaney would possibly foul out. And we did end up having 2 guys foul out, but Janai and Chaney were able to stay in the game. And even though Janai was on 1 foot, it seemed like in the last 3 or 4 minutes, those were crucial minutes for him to stay in. And so Chaney Johnson, man, he's the warrior of this team.
No doubt. Two for 4 at the 3-point arc, and 5 for 10 for inside, and he had 5 rebounds. He just had a great game, and he's so soft-spoken and so quiet, and he's so intense and loud with his playing, and he's a fun guy to watch, and you can't overlook him ever.
No, he's a phenomenal person. Great. Again, we saw a great mix of and a great chemistry on this team. Really kind of shined in Tuscaloosa Saturday when you go down and see the way the points are spread out. Janai with 19, Denver with 16, Miles with 15, Chaney with 14, Tahad with 13, Chad Baker with 15. I know you're not going to get this effort, but if you want to bottle up, and I know that there's things to work on, but this may be the most complete game Auburn's played, Faith. I mean, you want to think about defensively and offensively in the biggest stage. I think Auburn came through and maybe played its best game. If Auburn could bottle this up and play this way every game moving forward, they'd win a national title. If this team could score 94 points every night and play that level of defense, it would be almost impossible for anybody in the country to beat Auburn. It would take a monstrous effort, kind of like that girl for Vanderbilt last night that scored 55 points on us and beat us in overtime, which we may talk about that in a minute. That was disgusting. That was a complete blown end of the game for Auburn on the women's side. When you're up 3-3 and you choose not to foul, and you got the game in hand, and you got a girl that scored a bazillion points and already set a freshman scoring record, and you allow her to come down the floor and get fouled and go to the line, hit a free throw. to tie the game and get to overtime. But anyway, that's disgusting. But that's I think that's what you got to look at from the guy's standpoint is that I think this was Auburn's most complete game to this point.
No doubt. I'm 100%. I can say I think the exact same thing. And if that's how we played at Alabama, I'm anxious and looking forward to them coming to Neville. And that's in
It's March 8th.
Yeah, March 8th. That's less than a month away, but it's we've still got games in between and plenty of time, but that'll be I'm anxious.
That environment. Hey, look, Alabama has a tough road, and Auburn's got a tough road between now and then. And if Alabama handles business and Auburn handles business, guess what's going to set up on March 8th? Them trying to win that game and have a share of the SEC regular season with Auburn. Okay? So everything's still in front of both of these teams. And Alabama now with their backs against the wall, they understand what's ahead. So they know that they've got to almost play perfect basketball now. But they still have a chance. Let's go around the league real quick because we were so focused on our game. There were some crazy games Saturday. Mississippi State goes to Oxford and knocks Ole Miss off. That was big for Auburn because Ole Miss was kind of still hovering there. But Mississippi State, arch rival game, goes on the road just like we did. And you're kind of smiling as you sit in Oxford, Mississippi right now.
We didn't go to the game. We were thinking about going, but I was a little. I couldn't.
Were you giggling a little bit over there?
Well, I couldn't get off the couch from the Auburn game to go get in line, and I told him, I said, "You can go. That's fine." And he was like, "I don't know if I'm going to leave you here alone. You kind of scaring me." I was like, "Okay, whatever."
He comes back and everything's destroyed in the apartment. So
yeah. Well, I do have to say though, Padula, he was non-existent during that game, and he's a good player. But at least for the part that we watched, we had to turn that turn that game off.
Had to turn that one off. That wasn't going well. What about Kentucky going to Texas and getting beat? Texas 82-78. Here we go again. Kentucky at number 50. We'll see what the rankings are today. The rankings come out. We'll see where Kentucky falls. We'll see what happens to Ole Miss. Yeah, we'll post that out. Absolutely. But man, Florida, how good do they look right now? I mean, I know it was South Carolina, and South Carolina's terrible. We know that. But Florida I think they were up 30-something and at one point ended up winning by, 21? But they're just – I mean, again, I said it several weeks ago before we played Florida, and I'll keep saying it. That's the team that continues to scare me. And they're hovering around right there. If you look at the standings, now the updated standings, Auburn's at 11-1, Alabama 10-2, Florida and Texas A&M, Texas A&M with another big win. A&M's 9-3. I mean, they're only 2 games back. So Auburn's still got to go on the road to A&M. They've got to go on the road to Kentucky and play Alabama at home. Now, I'm not discrediting Arkansas and Georgia coming in and Ole Miss because, again, Ole Miss, even though they're 8-5 now, that's a team that can easily come into Neville if Auburn's not playing well and win the game. So Auburn's got Texas
for sure.
Absolutely. So you've got Ole Miss at 8-5, Tennessee at 8-5, Kentucky and Mississippi State at 6-6, Vanderbilt, which by the way led by 17, Faith, against Tennessee, and Tennessee came back and won that game.
Oh yeah.
So Tennessee loves to live dangerously. And then you had Texas at 5-8, Arkansas 4-8, Georgia 4-9, Oklahoma 3-9, LSU and South Carolina at the bottom. LSU is beyond horrific. And South Carolina, if there's a way to get below rock bottom, they're below rock bottom at 0-12. Just a horrible, horrible season that they can't wait to get over with now, I think, at this point. So,
all right. So what Jeff said, what's the magic number to win the conference, Brett?
I said, we all said normally it's 13. 13-5 is usually the number to win the SEC regular season. I think it's got to be higher than that. And I think it's because of Alabama. If Florida and Texas A&M are on that cusp, they're 2 games out at 9-3. What we all have 6 games left now. If Auburn wins 3 more games and gets to the 14 win mark, I think it'll be tough for anybody. I'll say that. 15 definitely wins the league. I think 15 wins the league. 14 may win the league. I don't think 13 is enough anymore. And that's crazy because Auburn's 11-1. And that's if you win against Arkansas and Georgia coming up this week, you're at 13. So, but then you got Ole Miss, and then you got Kentucky, A&M, and Alabama. And so I just don't think it will depend on what Florida and A&M and Alabama do too. If Auburn were to win the next 2 and Alabama were to lose one and Florida and Texas A&M were to slip up, then that makes that number come back toward 13 more.
Yeah,
that's the best I could do on that, Alice. I'm sorry.
No, I think we've got to worry about Texas A&M. I mean, that's going to be
I think that one's going to be a game that's almost like the Florida game for us.
Yep.
I'm going to say, and I don't know. Coach Pearl will probably kill me if I do a prediction like this because you want to take one at a time. But I would say that if Auburn wins the games they're supposed to win, which I think they'll obviously be favored in all of them. Maybe I don't know. I think they may even be favored in Rupp, although we haven't won there since '87. Hey, look, we're trying to eliminate things that we haven't done in a long time. How about let's go get a win in Rupp Arena? That would be nice. And Kentucky's not some world beater team, but again, Auburn will have the bullseye on its back, and we'll get their best effort. But can we finally go into Rupp Arena? I remember with Jabari Smith and Walker Kessler, we go over there and get our doors blown off. And it's a mental thing with Rupp Arena, I think, with our program more than anything. So maybe we can get over that hump. But I think if you beat Arkansas and Georgia and Ole Miss, that gets you to 14 wins. And then you've got those last games coming down the stretch with Kentucky, A&M, and Alabama. You want to finish strong, but I think at that point, you have to just win one of those. You just have to win one of them. And whether it be, and you got Alabama at home, and you got A&M and Kentucky on the road. And look, nobody wants to have a losing streak, but if we were to lose to Kentucky and A&M right there, it would kind of be like, what's going on? What's happening? Can they rebound coming home and finishing the deal at home against Alabama? I think that we can, but just understand those are going to be 2 very, very difficult games on the road.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But if we can get to 14 wins, I feel really good about it. I think at best somebody at that point can do is tie us. So
14.
14, yeah. Florida's got, 6 games left? I mean, they would have to go 5-1 to get to 14. So it just makes it tougher for those teams that even are 2 games back because you only have 6 games left. You don't have enough time to get back in the hunt if the teams ahead of you are holding serve. So that's kind of how all that breaks down. So, but again, outstanding performance by Auburn against Alabama. It was a huge win on a big stage. Everybody in the country.
Well, it looks like Brett just popped off. I don't know if that's what it is. for everybody or not, but that's what it is for me. Um, where he was going with that, I don't really know. But I do want to say that if we want to pop over to, yeah, a solo show again. If we do want to pop over to baseball really quickly, I think a lot of people probably heard about Cade's mom that passed away on the morning of the home opener game against Holy Cross, and he was able to go out there and not only hit a home run, but also he was slinging the ball right out the gate. And I thought it was a beautiful um, tribute to his mom, and it was a awesome. I mean, again, it was Holy Cross, but welcome back.
I mean, I don't know why this does this. I think I get logged out from other people that have our login, and they go in
Yeah.
and they're doing things in our and so something gets bumped. I'm going to figure that out, but it's again, it's technology, Faye. What can I say? But I'm sure you did an outstanding job keeping this
I
thing
moved
going.
over to baseball. I wanted to talk about Cade and
Oh, what a
how
great story! What a great
yeah,
story!
how his mom had passed away to cancer, and he ended up having an
And then he hits
amazing
a home run.
Yep, hit
Then
a
he hits a
home
home
run.
run.
He was throwing it amazing. He bless him and bless his family. That
Yeah.
was
I'm glad you
I
brought that up because that is a phenomenal story, and our thoughts and prayers go out to him. But what an emotional decision he made on Friday to play in that game after losing his mom. But what a God moment that was, him hitting that home run and
Yep.
being able to help Auburn win that game against Holy Cross. And but yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. It was on my list to talk about of cool things that went on this weekend for Auburn, and that may be the coolest of all of it when you look at it. And again, just a tremendous moment for him and his family.
Yeah.
Justin gave you some props there, Faith. Solo show. So
Yeah.
so he's giving you props now.
I know. Thank you, Justin. Um, but yeah, that was I did want to bring that up just because it was the
Right.
opening weekend in baseball, and obviously because of the new additional seating and the new addition to Plainsman Park, that was the largest series attendance in program history with 15,300 people.
That just changes that whole park. Again, it's an arms race in this league, and love Plainsman Park, love the renovations they've done, love Coach Thompson and what he's done for our program. And you look around and you look at places like Oxford, Mississippi, and Ole Miss, and you look at Mississippi State in their stadium, and you look at the renovation going on at Vanderbilt right now, and look at Tennessee's facility, and everybody's upgrading, adding seats. Auburn desperately needed seats added. It was getting hard to get into a game, but now making it more available for people to come watch baseball in Auburn, which is awesome. And like you said, set a record for over 15,000, and which is great opportunity for people to come and watch Auburn baseball. I want to go back real quick and talk about Abdul Bashir, one of the top JUCO players in the country, committing to Auburn. His brother Abdi Bashir plays for Monmouth. We played them earlier this year, back at the end of December. He had 15 points. He's a phenomenal player. But Abdul Bashir, one of the top JUCO players, averaging 28.2 points per game, really kind of reminds me of Chad Baker Mazara. Maybe a little bit better type score than Chad Baker, believe it or not. But chose Auburn over Texas A&M, Nebraska, Arizona State, Central Florida, some of those teams like that, Seton Hall. But a huge pickup there. And look, with the transfer portal, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but does Abdi end up getting an offer and coming to Auburn from Monmouth after the season's over? I mean, we'll see. That's something to watch. I'm not going to speculate on this or create any thoughts in anybody's head, but that's definitely. I mean, let's be honest. We think that could possibly happen. And he's a phenomenal player for Monmouth. He's tearing it up this year. When you look at what he's been able to do, I think Abdi has pulled him up. He's averaging 20 points a game, which is good for 10th in the country in NCAA. So yeah, he and his brother both sophomores, and that would be pretty cool if Auburn. Hey, the last time Auburn went out, or when Auburn's gone out and gotten players from mid-majors, Janai Broome from Morehead State kind of worked out for Auburn, didn't it? It's one to watch. I'll just put it that way, Faith. I sent that over to you when that announcement was made. That's a big pickup for Bruce Pearl.
No doubt. We've seen the players that BP can create, and he's a talented coach, and hopefully we've got a little bit more waiting to do to see, but
we got one of them so far. We'll see what happens after the season. Yep. Obviously we won't need tampering, right? All right. So to close out, Auburn softball, Faith, is off to an 11-0 start. Had a tremendous weekend again. Again, they're winning games 14-11. They're also winning games 2-1. And Jeff said it earlier. I mean, the hitting is where you start. If you look at Isis Tresvik, I mean, she's hitting 471, and she's already hit 6 out. 6 home runs already in 11 ball games. Abby Smith's hitting 464. Nelia Peralta, she's doing outstanding. She's hitting just below 400. She's already got 3 home runs. Anna Wohlers has hit 4 home runs. She's hitting 393. KK McCrary's hitting 324. Skylar Elkins has got a pair of home runs. I mean, all the way down. Auburn's already hit 19 home runs and only given up 9 so far in 11 games. And their team batting average is over 300. So it's so good to see this offense return. And that's what Clint Myers did so well. And we had good pitching, but we played power softball. And we were going to hit the ball out of the park. And we were going to put a lot of pressure on teams offensively. And in this short amount of time, again, we've already seen some unbelievable offensive numbers, and I think it'll translate to the conference schedule.
Like Jeff said earlier about having a hitting coach, I think that's why this dynamic of the husband and wife, as we've seen so far, has been successful for Auburn, because you've got that offensive-minded coach, and then you've got a little bit more of the defensive-minded coach, and you've got 2 people who equally have the same amount of power that are able to really focus and go in on each side, which is it's benefiting the whole team, obviously, from what we've seen. So yeah, I think it is so far a great dynamic. Like we said, we couldn't do it personally. Absolutely. But they've proven to be very, very successful at Tennessee too, but now here.
Well, overall, a great weekend. What can you say?
No kidding.
Auburn. Anytime Auburn beats Alabama, it's great. I mean, you can say
I told you I had my shirt on, but they didn't have to go back. They stayed in Tuscalooserville. But
that's it. So. Again, props to the hat and the shirt game for sure. We'll see if Justin gives you any credit on that this time.
We'll see.
But again, awesome weekend for Auburn. Baseball off to a 2-1 start. Softball off to an 11-0 start. Unfortunately, our women kind of blew it against Vanderbilt. Had a lead. Let a girl go for 55 points instead of freshman record. 55 points, and you lose in overtime. I know Coach Harris probably was fit to be tied, but anyway, they'll go back and look at that and try to figure out how to finish this season out. And then, of course, Auburn, the guys, just what a phenomenal effort all the way around. Great team effort going to Tuscaloosa and getting a massive win there. Now they'll shift their focus to Wednesday. Arkansas Razorbacks coming in, playing a little bit better basketball under John Calipari. You and I will talk about that tomorrow. Missed Jason this morning. Kind of give everybody an update. Jason heading up to the regional in Jacksonville State to watch a prospect for Auburn that plays for Oxford High School. I think Oxford and Mountain Brook play this morning. So he headed up early, wanted to send well wishes to everybody, and hated he couldn't be with us this morning, but he's on the road. And then you and I will be over next week. Faith, we got a busy week coming up, a lot going on. I got meetings on Wednesday. I've got Pepper Tree Steaks and Wine on Friday, live show for Pepper Tree Steaks and Wine. Not our podcast. We'll be on in the morning, but then the noon show will be out there. And we've got Coach Pruitt coming to be part of the show. And we also got Coach Kleinert, the Auburn men's golf coach. Love Coach Kleinert, great friend of our show, along with Coach Pruitt. Appreciate them working out their schedule to be with us at Pepper Tree Steaks and Wine on Friday. And then next week we'll be headed up to Birmingham for the finals. And so we're going to see a lot of prospects up there, big time basketball on the girls and the boys side. So a lot going on the next couple of weeks here for us as we are in the heart of basketball playoff action in both college and in high school. So as we get them down the stretch here for college, but Faith, have a great rest of the day. Sorry about the brief moment of technology blip that we had there. And we do want to say thanks to all of our partners as we close out here. We couldn't do it without Sense of Green, and we couldn't do it without Scout Program Management, and we couldn't do it without Bunkers, obviously joining us right out of the gate and being partners with us. And now, obviously, Sure Shot in Alexander City and Oliver Ross. What a great bartending service they offer for private get-togethers and parties or big conventions. They handle it all. We can't thank our partners enough, Faith, and we got some others that we're looking at bringing on here maybe in the next week or so. So people just have to wait and see what happens.
No doubt. We'll see.
All right, everybody have a great Monday, and we'll be back with you tomorrow. Remember, Auburn Blitz at noon today with Andy and Jim. So make sure you tune that in. I know they'll be breaking down what we talked about this morning, Faith. Everybody have a great day, and War Eagle.
War Eagle.